Welcome everyone to a long-awaited episode of Liquid Blake's Movie Takes. This week we've got Predator 2, and joining me is Lethal Lightning, and also we have joining us Tim from Open-Airlock Policy.
What's up?
And how are you, Tim? Happy birthday, by the way.
Happy birthday! How
Thank
did
you,
you turn?
thank you.
18? Are you allowed to legally drink now?
29.
29. Yeah.
We got to keep the under 30 crew alive.
That's right. If
But
I was
Blake-
serving you, I would ask you for ID. If you walked in.
Nice. But Blake, take us out of Stephanie Janicek style. You know how to
You
do
see-
that? There
yeah,
you go.
yeah.
There you go.
Is
What's
that better?
going on, guys?
Not much.
Yeah, I prefer this style. I'm not
Just
so
been,
zoomed in.
Enjoying rewatching this movie.
Hell
I
man.
quite like this.
Lethal was telling me you rewatched it last night. I rewatched it again last night as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the thing about this movie is it's one of those movies where critics are down on it and the audience is up on it, so you know it's a good movie.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it absolutely got panned when it came out. Like,
Did it?
And it still does to this day.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot
Really?
of critics don't like it, but the audience loves it because
Wow.
I don't know what it is, but the critics do not like this movie. It gets like a 30% on most of the sites, Metacritic and Rotten Tomatoes, but the audience has a high score. And
Yeah,
again,
this is
that's my
actually-
gauge right there.
This is my favorite Predator movie. I think this one's the best one.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah,
I
I've
like
heard
it
you
more than
say
the
that.
first
the
one.
first one.
Yeah. I was telling Blake the same thing a couple of weeks ago.
Holy shit! This gets destroyed.
I told you.
yeah. And when it first came out as well, especially.
Yeah.
But it's gotten a lot more love over the years.
Yeah, I mean, the
Wow.
audience loves it. At the time, I loved it. And all my friends, on my street and all that, we'd get the videotape and we all loved it. But again, critics don't like it. And if I had the time, I'd look into why, because there's got to be some reason they don't like it. Probably some political reason that they don't like it.
See, I just brought it up on Metacritic then. User score is 6.9, which I would argue is a bit low. But the Metacritic is 46, which translates to 4.6.
Mhm.
That's brutal. And then over on Trash Tomatoes, it has, 30% tomato meter and 44% audience score.
Yep.
Holy shit, I did not know this movie was that not liked.
It is not liked by the critics.
No, audiences I think were pretty mixed. I don't think it made as much as the first one, but people liked it. Like the audience liked it and stuff.
But it's one of those movies that has enjoyed and will continue to enjoy cult status and be
Yeah.
successful for many years just because of like what we're doing right now in 2022. 25 years after the film is supposed to take place, still talking about it. So
And before
Yeah.
we get too far, I want to
Tuscan
say hello
Bob's
to
seen it
everyone who's
flopped,
been
yeah.
here.
yeah, let's do it.
Speaking of Tuscan Bob's here. I'm sorry
What's
we
up,
are
dude?
late. I do apologize for that. I was having issues where StreamYard wasn't recognizing the microphone or the audio as being connected to here. It was somewhere else. But hello, thank you for being here, Tuscan Bob. We got Timon Flip. Yeah, so I think he
What?
I think he might be.
Danny Glover.
And we've got Gemmo the Icon. Thanks for being here as well. He's another guy I've streamed with before. He's a big NFL fan as well, and he likes movies too. But he's always fun to hang out with. We've got Trey Courtney here as always. Trey, how are you? Always fun hanging out with Trey.
Doesn't matter what time you go live, when, where, whatever, Trey's going to show up. That's what's awesome. There's got to be
yeah.
like two twins, and like one of them takes a different shift because Trey is always there.
Yeah, we got Radio as well. Wishing Tim a happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you.
I've got a wicked delay on these showing up. But Yes, Radio Tomorrow, Flip, Tuscan Bob. We've got the Sentinel here.
What's up,
E. Clay Thompson. Thanks everyone for being here. So we'll get underway now. Mainly because I might be guilty of sounding too negative through this because I love the first one so much, and this one's a very different movie, which is what I do like about it as well. But yeah, for me, the first one is such an iconic classic that nothing they've made since has touched it. But this one, I agree, is the last great Predator movie. Everything since has been pretty disappointing in the not just the franchise, but a lot of the lore behind it that they're doing as well in the Predator stuff is just very strange. But before we get too much into that, we'll get back to Predator 2. And so the difference I do like about it is you've got the new hero, the new Predator, and the new location. And for me, it almost seems like he goes in a bit harder, a bit more well equipped for this sort of scenario, because one of the things I've heard Lethal say about this before is this movie really does build on the lore, and it has a lot of the mythology and the ethos of the Predator in it. Like it builds on that with the no killing the woman that's pregnant and still not
Thanks
killing
for bringing that up,
people. And it also it was basically like he goes in like he's got a whole new arsenal. Like that's what I really loved about this movie is the whole weapon upgrades. You've got the introduction of the spear sort of thing that extends out. I don't think he had that in the first movie as extendable. He may have had something in the first movie, but I think it was extendable.
I think all he had in the first movie actually was the shoulder cannon and the blades. I think that was all, and the bomb, obviously.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think that was
he
all
went
he
in,
actually had.
Compared to this, he went in much lighter equipped.
This movie, and your point is about it was a different setting. They almost had to, because you didn't want to have a rehash.
No.
And I don't know if you guys know this, but it was pretty much inspired by the first comic miniseries, Concrete Jungle. It actually takes place in New York, and I think they were originally going to set this film in New York.
Yeah, the original script had it there.
Yeah, but I think since they're in LA and stuff, it was cheaper to film in LA and thus set it in LA. But that story was a little bit different. It connected more to Dutch, aka Schwarzenegger's character from the first film. So they probably took that. I'm not saying they wrote the comic as a dry run, but they probably looked at it and said, okay, if we had to do a Predator movie, it's got to be different. Hey, look at this comic series, a great place to start. Even though the story itself isn't exact, but it's not a coincidence that it's set in the city and it involves drug cartels. Right.
Well, I think with that as well, just with like the whole setting of it, is the first one's obviously the jungle, and this one's a concrete jungle. But at the start of the movie, it actually shows the jungle, and like the camera like pans over it, and then you see we're in the city.
I love that shot.
And the whole idea of the setting being in LA as well, because you got like the LA gang wars and stuff going on. Because what's the two things that we know predators look for? Heat. So they say, yep, fuck it, it's hot as fuck in LA. There's a heat wave. And conflict. Gang wars. Okay, cool. Because like the opening scene is a massive shootout between police and like Colombian drug cartels and shit like that. And the predator's just sitting there chilling, doing its thing, assessing the situation. I love this setting. I think it's like, to introduce the Predator, I think the jungle, like out in the actual jungle, is the best place to introduce it. But to like show you what a Predator can do, I don't think you can beat this setting. Like I've always said that Predator might be one of the simplest concepts to come with a setting. All you got to do is think of something that's hot and conflict, and you want to do a modern day Predator movie. Holy shit! If only there was a fucking conflict out in the desert somewhere.
Yeah. It is. Yeah. It's amazing how they've completely gone away from that in the subsequent movies, especially the latest one, The Predator. I mean, I've only seen that once, and I can't even remember the end of it. But it just
he turns into Iron Man.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
I'm going to be honest with you guys. I haven't seen or played a game past this movie. I haven't seen the Alien movies. Yeah, I haven't played any of the games. I haven't seen the reboot. I've seen Predator 2, and read some of the comics, and that's it. Never
I
wanted to.
played a lot of the game as a kid. The first games, like the AVP arcade games, and then the subsequent.
Yeah,
ones.
I think I played those, but they're not really story, right? They're just
No.
action, So,
but the where they went with it with AVP, I liked the first one. It had its moments, but the second one, it was very strange.
Oh, the
and
second
again,
one was
correct me if I'm wrong.
decisions.
Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but Alien versus Predator, they also got that from the comics. Didn't they do that first in the comics?
Yeah,
in
what
the
came
game?
first, the comic or the Easter egg in this movie?
The Easter egg in the movie.
Well, they've said both, but I think it is the Easter egg in this movie because they said they're inspired by the comics, but I believe they were talking about just straight Alien comics to actually put the skull in there and the fact that they will tie them together later on or whatever. But I think it was just originally.
Well, because Fox owned both properties. Yeah. So why not?
I also think it was kind of like a clever, like cheeky little dig from like the director being like, "My alien would beat your alien," kind of like how in Jason Goes to Hell when Freddy pops up and grabs his mask. It's kind of just like it's an Easter egg, but it's also a little like my character's cooler than yours.
Yeah,
right.
But
sorry, go on.
No, I was just gonna say that is pretty much because I always thought growing up that Predator would beat Alien as a kid.
I'm in the Alien camp, but I also I don't mind the first Alien Predator movie. I think it, like you said, it's got some interesting concepts. Like I like the idea of like predators built the pyramids, because that whole who the fuck built the pyramids and why the fuck did they build the pyramids? Okay, predators did it. That I'm cool with, but then it starts to get a little bit out there later.
Yeah.
We've got some new people here. Teresa's here, and I think I saw someone else as well.
Yes, there is a loveface.xyz online strips about clothing. Hello.
Thank you for being here. Please tell all your friends. We'll be glad to see you in future streams. The whole the update, basically the Predator got a whole new update. People were mentioning in the chat as well the other weapons. This Predator, the first one always felt like sort of like a more of the hunter sort of thing, like the he's going out with very little weapons sort of thing, and it's more of like a survivalist hunter. Whereas this one was sort of more like a gladiator hunter. Like there'd be scenes in the movie he's sort of just walking down. From his point of view, he's sort of just walking down the gunfire, and he seemed like a little bit more armored, and he was taking a lot more sort of damage. And he had the like the sort of the gladiator type weapons, like the lance and the discus throwing, and he had the net, which I always thought was the coolest one, where he shot it against the wall and it just retracts against the dude. And they bring that back, actually, a lot of these weapons in AVP, which I did like, because you sort of saw how they probably developed a lot of these weapons to fight the aliens, like retrospectively, like going back and retconning like the history of the Predator and everything. You almost feel like that they evolved to a certain point, and then when they started using the aliens, they were like, okay, we've got to sort of up it a bit more to combat these life forms. But that was the other cool thing. I think
it was 97, Nerdporial. I don't think it was 95.
Yeah, because they mentioned in the movie it's like 10 years after the first one, and that was it kind of, the setting almost felt like sort of like a RoboCop movie to me. It was like it was set in like the gritty sort of past, but it had like the futuristic elements to it. And they're even like, because I was listening to the director's commentary when I watched this back, and he says, because I think he probably recorded it in 2004 or something, and he was saying like we may have gone a bit too far in some scenes, like we had female voices talking to us from computer screens. And I'm like, well, that's, if you had done that 10 years later, that's just Siri. So a lot of the stuff they did right into this movie actually it hit pretty close.
This is a solid R-rated movie as well. I mean,
and by the way,
violence.
Since you bring up the rating, they had to cut a bunch of shit to get it down to R from NC-17. I don't know if you guys know that because of violence and stuff. So imagine
and we
that.
have different ratings here. So like an R is like sort of an R here, but or an NC-17 is, and they both sort of sometimes get lumped into the same. But yeah, this one was definitely an R18 movie in
Australia's
Australia.
rating system seems to be a bit more lenient on violence, but more harsher on like sex, which this movie has both of.
Same in America.
that-
Like the Europeans seem to be the opposite. Like
Yeah.
show all the nudity and sex you want, but violence, we're not going to show that. It's just, American and Australian people are a lot more rugged and violent like that. I think that's what it is.
Well, I mean, this movie, like right off the bat, shows cops getting blown up,
Oh yeah.
which is something you don't really see anymore. I mean, that's kind of pushing it right there. I mean, you show cops getting slaughtered and just destroyed by drug cartels.
Right.
And it also shows them it's like they can't take on these criminals. These criminals are just too well equipped and well organized. So it's kind of like a losing battle against them and all that. And even just like the train scene, that's pretty violent, that train scene.
Yeah.
But that opening scene, that's probably an R rating just right off that opening scene right there.
Yeah, and
That
it would have
is-
been
yeah.
it would have
That's
been one of the
just
first NC-17 movies because they had just invented that rating because everything was X before that. And then they're like, well, X, we're going to reserve that more for like sexual type stuff. So then they invented NC-17, like no children under 17. I'm going to say it was maybe 87 or 88. Someone in the chat, if they know, correct me. But it would have been one of the first like mainstream releases that used that rating. So, they didn't want to have that distinction, so they cut this stuff out. And another one would have been Texas Chainsaw Part 3, I think, was going to be NC-17. So, yeah.
So yeah, very strange errors. The when you look back at the ratings, what some of those movies back then would get, like PG, what PG-13 movies were getting back then compared to what a PG-13 movie was.
Yeah, hell yeah.
See, this is a little bit off topic, but if I walk into like JB Hi-Fi and go to the DVD section, I remember sometimes I would see Terminator 1. Some would have it rated R, some would have it MA-15.
Yeah, when that new, because MA-15's kind of not recent, but I think it was like the mid 2000s or early 2000s that came in, and so some movies they kind of got both, and then I think Terminator probably got squashed down to MA later on because of just retrospectively looking back on it, because that's probably not it kind of is, but that's a little less overt in the gore and everything.
Yeah, but again, off topic, but I would say that's a solid R rating just from that I'll be back, like walking through a police station.
That scene,
That's
but
R
I don't know
right
if they for the violence, but I don't know if like Predator, they sort of, there's a lot more blood, I think. And I think that goes a bit further when they're doing the ratings, especially because I don't know how thorough they sort of look at it. I think they just sort of put on a pile, because one of the things I've heard a lot, like there's horror stories about director's notes and everything getting passed back, and a lot of the times they just change, they'll make it worse in their eyes than what it was before, and the censors will clear it. So it's kind of just a gamble, I think, that just what goes through and what doesn't go through.
And so who's on the board that day or whatever.
Yeah. Who's working that day?
Yeah.
I'm laughing at Tuscan Bob's comment about NC-25, and that's just because he doesn't want any kids inside of a theater. That's what that is. But yeah, NC-17 was invented in 90 for the reasons I stated earlier. So this would have been one of the first to receive that rating. So I definitely don't think they wanted that distinction. So I'd love to see an uncut version of it, though, but I doubt it exists because they probably, all that stuff wound up on the cutting room floor, I would guess.
Yeah, I'd say so. Pretty much all the deleted scenes or anything, I think it's pretty much just alternate takes or slightly different things. There is some funny stuff in the behind the scenes of the Blu-ray I've got. Like, it's some contradictory stuff, because I've heard that there's a novelization of this movie where it says that Dutch.
I want it, by the way.
Yeah, so I do too, because it sounds like it's some pretty good sort of extras in there for tidbits for the story. Like one of the things that they says is Dutch, he's interrogated after he's got like radiation poisoning, but he escapes and just he's never to be seen from again, sort of thing. He just vanishes.
Yep.
But behind the scenes, Gary Busey was saying some of the backstory for his character was that Keyes was actually the person who sent those Green Berets in the first movie, and then sent Dylan and the CIA in with Dutch's team to get them out. He was sort of the guy behind it. But then he says behind the scenes that Dutch died 9 weeks after that movie happened. So there's kind of inconsistencies where they were taking the story, I think, and where the story actually lies. But it's cool to
just to play devil's advocate. Do you think that's him just being, slimy CIA government person, got to cover his tracks by saying, no, he's dead?
It could be, yeah. Because he acts like there's all these behind the scenes interviews with Gary Busey, and he seems like he's actually in character when he's
just got that intensity. Get the fuck out of my way.
Yeah, and it wasn't long after he had the motorcycle accident. And this was his first. I think it was either his first movie or his first big movie since that. And he's definitely a very different person than when you see him in like interviews and stuff before that. But I guess going through something like that will change you.
I want that book, though. It also tells a lot of the story from the Predator's perspective, and I think that's cool. I'd love to get some insight on that. So I love novelizations. Anytime I find one in a bookstore, a used bookstore, I buy it because it's really cool to kind of see some other perspectives in a film.
Internal dialogue. You can't really portray internal dialogue in a movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's one reason why I think this one's actually better as well, is because it is actually more about the Predator.
Yeah.
Yep. I
was reading that part of that internal dialogue is the Predator feels humiliated when Danny Glover takes off his mask. Takes off his mask in the abattoir thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that does sound like a good novelization to get.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. That actually, this one he's also got shoots rockets from his wrists, and he does it like once, and he's got that.
But not from his knees.
Not from his knees. No, the same thing.
No, that's one of the other things. It's like because he doesn't really. He has the shoulder cannon in this one, but he doesn't really use it for the plasma laser like he does in the first. It shoots more like a projectile kind of rocket almost. But yeah, there's a few good shots in that where he takes out one of the Jamaican dudes at the start or near the start, and then he takes out Keyes with it later.
Mm-hmm. It also seems like it's not as powerful because in the first one it puts like holes directly through people.
Yeah, it was taken and it took off Dylan's arm.
Yep. Whereas like Danny Glover can just put a plate on and
have the Kevlar and it just sort of stopped it. But I did love the weapon updates, and because there's that scene where he throws that discus thing to take out Keyes.
Then it cuts through all the beef.
Yeah, that's a really cool shot from the movie. But I was also
awesome weapon too. I think it's cool.
Yeah, and how it comes back.
Yes,
well, literally it comes back to him, but then it also comes back with Danny Glover using it against the Predator.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the cool things from behind the scenes was I saw that scene where he does cut the Predator's arm off on the side of the building, and it starts falling down the side. They actually got a one-armed stuntman in to film that. Yeah, so they put him in the suit, and so he didn't need like any like digital anything replacements, and he's on a descender going down. It's still pretty. He's going down pretty quick, and he's still doing the thing where he's got his claws on the wall trying to scrape his way up. But that's one of those
Die Hard there.
Yeah.
So how many one-armed stuntmen are out there? I never even would have thought to look for a one-armed stuntman. I thought they wouldn't exist.
I always love those little stories about how they find things like that to get around things in those sort of movies. Like they'll find like a one-armed stuntman, or like the other example was I really love is in T2 the scene where Sarah Connor's in the mirror taking the I think it's the bullets out of the Terminator. It's actually, instead of getting a mirror there because they couldn't with the reflection of the cameras and everything, they've just got Linda Hamilton's twin sister on the other side doing the same.
Yeah, I've heard that one.
And it just works.
Wow,
perfect.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I love little tricks like that where they don't. You think
Absolutely.
it's like a really expensive digital trick or something, but it's just a real simple sort of workaround.
Oh, and that's what made films seem more real then, because they had to be creative. You know, look at the original Star Wars. If you watch that shit and you watch anything now, it looks like 100 times more real because everything is solid and just the camera movements and all that stuff. And the model work was good. You know, they had to do better because, you know, they would have been laughed at and it would have looked stupid. So they did their best. But now it's like, throw some CGI on it and everyone knows it's CGI, so who gives a fuck? That's kind of how the thinking is these days. That's why I don't even like movies anymore. You watch it and like a comedy movie will have CGI in it and stuff. And you're like, give me models and real special effects any day.
Oh, absolutely. And this, it wasn't a huge budget they had for this, and a lot of the sequences in there, like they were pretty sort of strapped budgetary wise and time wise to do these things, so they had to think on their feet and come up with a lot of these things.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to get into that yet because that's kind of like the grand finale, so we'll talk about that later. But what else? Oh, what about the cast, guys? Like, I thought it had an amazing cast.
Bill Paxton.
Yes. The only guy to be killed by a Terminator, a Xenomorph, and a Predator.
Mm-hmm.
Based.
That's a Hollywood resume.
Oh, fucking oath.
Not even being killed by him, just being in those movies. It's just
yeah.
Exactly.
No, I quite like it. Obviously Gary Busey, he does well. Danny Glover, I think he's criminally underrated in this. Underrated.
And as an action star, like he was sort of like Lethal Weapon, he was more of the sidekick in that and not really the action person of it. Like he was more like, I'm too old for this shit. Like he's the subdued sort of one. But in this, he's he absolutely takes charge, and he's a really good leading man. And considering leading men that they've had since for the Predator franchise, I put him right up there with Arnold.
Oh yeah, tied. In this, he actually kind of reminds me of Dirty Harry. He kind of has a Dirty Harry approach and attitude to things. Yeah. Always being yelled at by the chief. You know, FBI wants to get involved, and he's like, "Fuck the FBI." The way he's like telling like his crew, he's like, "Yep, follow that car." And the way that even the way that cop's like, "Hey, we just had call from like way high up, like above CIA, and they say do not let anyone in," and he just goes, "I didn't hear that," and just walks in.
He's like the Black Vic Mackey almost.
Yeah, except not corrupt. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
yeah.
It's but like I do what's right because I feel like I can get the job done if I do what I want.
Yeah,
and he's very hip to like there's something else going on. He's kind of very hip to it from the start, because when they walk into that room and they find all the cartel members dead, and they're like, that shouldn't be fucking possible. And then he kind of sees like the outline of the Predator, and he thinks he's like, am I just tripping out? Like, cause it's heat stroke, am I like stressing out from being shot at? And he's always kind
of, he has fear of heights too.
Yeah. I love how that fear of heights keeps coming back. Like when he's crawling down after he cuts off the Predator's arm, he's like, okay. It had to be birds. It just had to be birds.
Yeah. And then Adam Baldwin, you know, from Firefly and all those other movies. Yeah. He's in the film.
Yeah, they said he was just off Full Metal Jacket, I think a year or two before.
Yep. Okay.
So he's just sort of starting his career, and he does pretty well. Like he has a small role in this one, but he plays it pretty well. The whole cast is great.
Who do you think has the best death?
Bill Paxton, because that's my favorite scene in the movie.
He gets cut in half, right?
Wants some candy, where the Predator's coming towards him, and it just creepily says to him, "Wants some candy," and then just murks him.
I quite like King Willie's death.
Yeah, that's probably the second one.
The way like he's explaining is like, there's no stopping what can't be stopped. He's giving like this full speech, and then he pulls out his sword, and then like you hear him scream, and like the camera like zooms out, and he's like cut in half. Well,
Yeah,
he's
he's just
decapitated
carrying
actually.
the head away, and I love that how it cuts on the scream, and then it cuts to the open mouth, like you think he is screaming, and then you just see the head. You just see the head like being carried away. That's one of the
a lot of good action cheesy one-liners in this as well. Want some ganja, man? Like when they pull up to get him to take him to see King Willie.
Yeah,
it's about fucking power, man.
I love the I mean, they might have been kind of overused in the times, but I love the Colombian drug lord and the Jamaican drug lord sort of war aspect of the film in the background. It just adds a lot of because like in the first one it was just sort of guerrillas, like the rebels,
right,
soldiers and stuff in the jungle, and the Predator was just sort of taking them apart, not really taking them apart, but just taking the soldiers apart. In this one, the Predator's just taking both sides apart, and it's pretty epic.
And that's not what the cops are saying. They're like, is this a third gang? Is this like a hitman from overseas that's come in that's just on a next level type shit?
Yeah.
Like, that's why it's so good, because it's kind of, I don't want to say grounded in reality because it's a fucking alien from outer space killing everyone, but it's like a full like gang war which happens every day, everywhere, like every country in the world there's like gang wars going on. And then on top of that, there's an alien that's out there doing its own thing for its own reasons, picking everyone off. Like the whole gang war aspect, I think actually if you take the gang war aspect away from this movie, I think it falls apart, because you need that conflict. There's the conflict, there's the wars going on, there's the police trying to get control of the city, and then the Yauchers out there just slaughtering everybody and everything. And then of course, like we find out, granted they do it in the first one. It doesn't want to kill the chick because the chick doesn't have a weapon, but this one, you kind of get the sense, and it's mostly because of that epic ending where you're like, okay, they're out here proving themselves, then we learn about Yautja culture. They kind of have to go out and do all their bullshit, kill everyone, and come back, and they're kind of like accepted as like a member of their clan and all that type of stuff. And like the way like it's got to kill that cop, the chick cop, but nope, she's pregnant, don't touch her, even though she is, from the Yautja's perspective, that is a worthy trophy, but you can't do that because there's a baby in her. And then that way, the kid's running around the toy gun, and the Predator sees that, he thinks that's a real one, and then points to that, and then like you see like the heat vision around it, and it's like, nah, it's not real, so don't hurt the kid. And then that's what it gives you, the want some candy.
Right.
Yeah, it does a great job because the director mentions that it was the writers really wanted to, because this was a sequel, not just make another Predator movie, but really build on the character of the Predator. And
I think they did that in spades.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, Predator 2022, summer in Portland, Oregon. Proud Boys versus Antifa. Let's go.
Yeah, none of them are worthy trophies, so the Predator up and leaves.
Yeah, and no one's beating that. The Predator's just not losing any of them, so he just walks the room and leaves.
Or it gets cancelled.
Yeah. Hey, are you appropriating dreads from Jamaicans? What are you doing, Predator?
I could be, the way my hair is going right now.
Who else is in? Oh, Morton Downey Jr. He had like for 15 minutes in the 80s, he was this talk show host, and people thought he was, you guys probably don't even know who the hell he is, but
I didn't
he was
know.
thing for like a year, maybe in 88, 89. He's in the film as a journalist.
Yeah, so he's the guy that Danny Glover knocks out.
Yeah, and good, because he was an asshole in real life.
The director mentioned some stuff about him. I had no idea who he was before the movie, or even up until I watched the commentary with the director.
He was like a Jerry Springer that never came to be. Like for 1 or 2 years he had a show, and he blew up his cigarette smoke in people's faces and shit like that. Yeah.
He got caught lying about fabricating some news or something, and
he sprayed a certain symbol on his face and tried to say it was a hate crime. Yeah. Okay. And he got caught. So
Morton Downey, Smollo.
Isn't stripping without clothing just starting out naked? Yeah.
There's a review over here that I'm looking at.
Yeah.
It says, since the predator is imaginary, but the people who made it are not. Predator 2 speaks sadly of their own lack of curiosity and imagination. I completely disagree with that. I think this goes deeper into what the predator is.
Agreed.
Like Blake says, it shows us more predator weaponry. It gives us more predator backstory. And again, I don't want to jump the gun, but that last 10 minutes is the
yes.
big, here you go. Here's everything you need to know all in one moment.
Yeah.
Without it being what's the word I'm looking for? Very without it being bloated and just filled incoherently. It's just that last little reveal. Convoluted. Yeah. That's the one.
Yeah, and I love that. With that whole ending scenario, you get the different variations of the predator. They don't all just look the same. Even this one looks fairly different to the original one. And one of the things I do like is Stan Winston. I don't know if they did this purposely. This is just more my headcanon kind of thing. But the elder predator is the same mold and suit as the original predator, just with made to look older with different ornaments and like jewelry and stuff on it. And it's Kevin Peter Hall in that one. So I always thought of that one as like the kind of maybe like the father of the original predator, and he's sort of like back with a crew, and he's like, well, this time it's kind of like revenge, like we're here to take out as many as we can and then just leave.
Apparently, and I never read this, but I've been told there's a predator comic that shows how that predator got that little musket thing that he gives at the end.
Oh yeah, I've heard that.
Flintlock.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's another one I'd be interested in looking into the story of that one too.
Yeah, if you can get your hands on trade paperbacks, get them all, because Dark Horse had some awesome shit in the 90s.
Oh man, Dark Horse did amazing with Predator and Alien. Some of their Alien stuff, I am biased. I am more of an Alien guy.
Yeah,
I've been reading the current Marvel Alien. It's started very shit, but it's picked up recently. But it's no Dark Horse.
Right. They had so many titles that were just different than the big two. And even Image. A lot of Images was just, I'm going to come up with a new superhero, a random one, and it failed.
Like
nice. Very nice.
Yeah, I've only got the second one of this one, but then recently they sort of did newer kind of ones. So like this one, it's pretty thick. Like it's a pretty hefty book, and they've got a lot of cool stories in there. But I haven't read all of them yet.
Oh, well, look at the size of it. It's going to take you a bit.
Yeah, I know. And I've got an AVP one as well.
Shit, I think they had Batman versus Predator, I believe.
They did.
That was,
Predator kicked the shit out of him.
Yeah.
First time.
What
about the what did you think of the way that they portray? Because obviously in the first one we have Dylan, the son of a bitch, how he's kind of like in on it the whole time. Yeah. What do you think of like the human sides of this time that are aware of the predator?
It to me it was always like the logical step after the first one. Like there'd be like a government task force sort of set up, like sort of like a Men in Black type thing that just specifically monitored these situations. And as I kind of said before, like they sort of in the behind the scenes stuff, they allude to the like Keys was behind the original one. So it's it'd be interesting to know is like, was that the first predator that came here, or like how did they know to send like the crews after that sort of thing?
Well, in this one, and again, this one builds on it, they talk about things that have happened back in World War II days. Where we're like, we're pretty sure that was a predator.
Yeah.
Talk about like battles of like Iwo Jima. Something happened in Iwo Jima. I'm pretty sure that was a predator. See, stuff like that. I love that concept for predator. Because again, conflict, World War. What's a bigger conflict than that? And obviously there's going to be some very hot places, especially in those Japanese islands, can get very humid. That's a perfect spot for a predator.
Yeah, that always interested me. Like, go backwards with the
Don't go back to fucking some Native American little girl that's going to beat the shit out of it with a stick and a rock. That's fucking stupid, man.
Yeah, move back in its own timeline.
Yeah, go back in its own timeline, like that whole, when he's going through it, we're going, like I said, Iwo Jima. I don't think it necessarily needs its own movie, but it'd be pretty cool to see like a Predator in World War II.
Was there any kind of conflict going on in London in 1888? Maybe Jack the Ripper was a predator.
Maybe Jack the Ripper was a predator. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And these hookers weren't exactly just hookers. There's a bit more going on. Yeah.
Oh, that'd be
you could do crazy shit.
Sherlock Holmes versus Predator.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh man, yes.
That fucking Dr. Moriarty, he's growing tusks out of his mouth.
Yeah.
Fucking cunt.
No, but yeah, like we were saying before with the Adolini flintlock pistol. I haven't read the story behind that, but that would have been cool in the movies to go back and go sort of flesh that out.
Yes. Mm-hmm. They could have done so many better things, but after 1990, it's like, no, let's put it on the shelf.
See, I've been told that, because I didn't think much of, it's called Predators, the third one, right? Predators.
Yeah.
Yep.
I didn't think much of that, but a lot of people have told me that if I went back and rewatch it, it's better than you remember, but it's still not great.
What year is that?
2009, 2010. I was in school. I remember coming when it came out.
19 years later. Well, 20 years later, it says it's 2010. They did some games, like there was a game that has like a storyline and stuff, but still, how do you not have a movie?
What was that one called on PS2? That was actually pretty good, that one. Hunting Grounds.
Concrete Jungle. Oh, no, there was Concrete Jungle as well on PS2.
That's the one I'm thinking of, yeah. And it has nothing to do with the comic, by the way. It's like just the name. Oh, I forgot about it. Alien versus Predator was 2004. So, and again, never seen it. Do I need to see that?
The first one's worth a watch. It's whatever.
It's fun.
Yeah,
but kind of stupid, it sort of it does a fairly good job of tying both together. In a fairly believable way.
Like Wayland Yutani is based on Predator technology.
Yeah,
so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it does a fairly good job. Like I think some people didn't like the fact that also they made the Predator the quasi good guy kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. The Predator is portrayed as the good guy between the alien and the Predator. But it does like we're touching on before, how like, you can go back in history and say Predators did this. They do that quite a lot.
Okay.
Like civilizations that disappeared was a Predator activating its bomb.
Yeah. Right.
Second one's fucking awful. Like
that's awful. What I've heard. Yeah.
That's my friend said it perfectly when we left that theater. He goes, they forgot to turn the lights on throughout the entire movie. It's like they didn't turn one light on to light anything in front of the camera at all, except for the daylight scenes. That were the only things lit. Everything that was in dark was just in complete darkness.
The only thing I liked about that was the Pred alien.
Yeah, that was cool. It did a good job when you could see it. That was the only problem. But but I mean, if this movie had have probably been received better, I think you probably would have got a Predator 3 much sooner.
Yeah.
And I think it probably would have been better for the franchise because having a wait that long and then having Predators, I think it just sort of fell flat. And then especially the Predator, that just...
Oh, Predator killed it.
Yeah, and I think they're hoping this Prey movie is going to revive the series, but I think it's just going to put the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, see, Predators, I think, is a cool idea. My problem with Predators was it didn't explain itself very well, like the Bad Bloods. The movie does not explain Bad Bloods at all. They're just kind of there. And then you see a normal Predator tied up. You're like, this makes no... If you just watch the movie, you go, this makes no fucking sense.
Yeah.
But I think it's a cool concept of them taking humans and putting them on other planets to hunt them, like a safari, almost.
Yeah.
But then the Predator is just... autistic, and that's a nice little joke about the movie, I reckon.
Yeah, I kind of had the same problem with both. The lead just didn't work as an action lead for me, and his team, in Predators, they were just kind of like fucking morons, to be honest. And no, in the Predator, sorry, and in Predators, they were kind of halfway there anyway, because like they're mostly all like misfits and convicts and everything. Well, they kind of are in both movies, but they're like death row inmates and like gangsters and all this like eclectic mix, and it kind of doesn't work because they kind of needed to be like a solid team for the Predator to take them out, because when they're just sort of these like they just pick them apart like just nothing pretty much.
I had gone to see a movie in 2010, 2009, whatever it was, and there was a trailer for it, and I'm like, it wasn't interesting to me, so I passed. I
honestly think that movie was aimed, because I was 15, 16 when that came out. I think that movie was aimed at like my demographic.
Yeah, I was just a few years older in that, but yeah.
It was a lot of they tried to get in on a lot of the people that grew up watching Predator, Predator 2 on video or like DVD at the video store and stuff, hiring it and cash in like much later on, which I always think that it's such a like there was that whole spate of it where like movies have done it recently. Some have done it well ish, and some have just completely like tanked their franchises. Like, do you guys remember like Dumb and Dumber, for instance? Did you watch?
I never saw the new one.
Oh, no,
that was terrible. You know, you can just see something that I've got a bad feeling about this.
Yeah, that actually makes me like the original one less. That
really?
Yeah, that's how bad I hated it.
I didn't mind that prequel one though. I thought that was kind of funny.
Dumber and Dumber, or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah, I saw that once. I think like just recently after it was released on like cable TV or something, and I thought it was all right for not having the cast in it, but for having the cast in it, the sequel that they made was such an abysmal attempt that I think it kind of ended Jim Carrey's career for a while in comedies, until like he had like a bit of a resurgence in like sort of kids-ish movies.
Sonic and shit.
Yeah. And I think he does some voices in some other things as well now. But yeah, back to Predator anyway. And I want to go through the cast a little bit more as well, because there's Archuleta, played by Ruben Blades. He's probably he doesn't get much screen time because he gets killed off pretty quickly, but he's probably my favorite character besides Danny Glover and because I like Bill Paxton in the movie, but I find his character's a bit over the top at times. But the Ruben Blades performance,
kind of the point.
Yeah, I know.
He's supposed to be a douchebag.
Yeah, but he kind of just gets on my nerves a little bit too much sometimes. And it's like when like like in a wrestling heel, when you're like, I hate that guy, but he's a heel, so I'm supposed to hate him. Yeah, but I don't hate him because he's a heel. I just hate that guy. Bill Paxton, I hated because he was playing that character so well. That's why I ended up sort of hating him.
Nice.
But yeah,
well, I'm looking at Blades here, and he looks familiar, but I don't recognize any of these other movies he's in. But he looks so familiar, other than just I've seen him in something, but none of these look recognizable.
I'm not like hugely up on his filmography, but I think he was a musician and I think he ended up going into politics, which is another weird thing. Another person in a Predator movie ended up going into politics. But yeah, there just must be something about fighting aliens that just.
I guess they won't fight the aliens south of the border, though. You know, that's the difference. That's the difference.
Views expressed on this channel by other members of their own, and only this is a disclaimer by YouTube.
Hey, you guys have oceans surrounding you, okay? It's different.
Yeah, hey, we were stopping the boats long before you were building the wall.
Yeah, we've got the whole boat people pandemic that people.
We have that too in South Florida. So, but we welcome them because they're escaping communism. So,
We
We let
welcome
ours
them.
in 'cause they
We
drive
give them
Pepsis.
a
I'm
year-round
sorry.
Christmas.
oh, Robert Davi, guys, from Die
Yeah,
Hard.
he's the
Pit
Goonies.
face. Yep.
He's always the just really quiet, intense character in like every movie. Like he doesn't get a lot of lines, but he's either the bad guy pretty much always, or he's just the really intense sort of.
Well, except for that scene in Die Hard where he, about Nam, and his partner's like, "I was in junior high." That's a great scene.
Yeah,
This reminds me of Nam.
that'll be coming up in the next few weeks as well. Die
Nice.
Hard on doing that one. I've said to Trey's got the open invitation for whenever I do Die Hard or Lethal Weapon to come on, because if you haven't watched Trey's reviews, I'll leave the link. I'll leave the link in the. Or Trey's a mod now; he can leave his link in the video. He's got great reviews, and they're not. You won't find any editing. You won't find
None.
any.
Not even clipping out the first 5 seconds when you hit record.
Yeah, or when the phone falls.
Well, I hope you can get him on, because thus far he's declined to come on my channel. So I'd love to see him live stream with some.
You do too much editing.
Oh, he's busy editing, but he's got great content, and he does all these sort of movies, like all the action movies you could think of. Trey's probably got a review on there for it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's always good fun to watch. But and he's always in all the chats I see. He's a really strong supporter of everyone, and
Yep.
does a lot of good work.
Says some fucking wild shit, man.
Yeah, if you're not following Trey on Twitter, that's definitely something you need to do.
How am I banned and not Trey? I mean, come on.
Yeah. I was going to say the same. Someone else you need to follow on Twitter, but I can't say that anymore. Yeah, the whole cast, like one of the big parts of the first movie for me was the cast and how perfectly they all fit together. But this, I think they do as well as the police force team, and having Bill Paxton as the new guy in adds a really cool dynamic to it. But
the first movie's cast is all testosterone overload, full macho man, which works for that setting. Whereas this one, it's a bit more like, streets of
real
LA.
people
So
almost.
Yeah, real people. You're gonna have the tough chick. Bill Paxton is just a fucking wanker, but you love him. Goes, Luck's my middle name, or Luck's my speciality is what he says. Yeah.
And I love the interactions he has with Maria Conchita Alonso, how they keep she just keeps fucking with him the entire movie. Every time he sort of gets too far out of line, she'll just clip him back into place a bit.
Yeah, one of the best lines is she says, "How's your balls?" and he says, "Great, how are yours?"
Yeah, I love that. I love that part.
What a great delivery on that line too.
Yes, she's great. Also in The Running Man. Yes, that's
another
right.
good science fiction
in
movie.
Mexico. I always forget that he plays like the PI, like the detective sort of dude in Once Upon a Time Mexico, which is another movie I'll be getting to eventually, because weirdly, like Die Hard, the third movie in that trilogy is my favorite, and like actually Back to the Future as well. I sometimes I like the third movies the most. I don't know what it is. But I'm usually a sequel guy anyway, besides from maybe like Terminator. I think Terminator is the only one where
that's an argument for another
that's
day.
what I mean. Like, but I always, I can go back and forwards. The same with like Alien and Aliens, to a certain degree. Like, well, Predator's my number one, but to a certain degree, I can see why people rate it over the first one, and I think it probably stops there. I mean, people really
Mad Max.
Future. Yeah, Mad Max as well. That's the other one where I'm completely on the fence. I can say one week that the first one's my favorite, and then the second week I can just confidently say that the second one's my favorite, because it really just depends if I'm into like a more of an action movie or more of like a thriller type suspense kind of movie or whatever. But yeah, I love the distinctions, and I do love with those movies, especially this one, that they do make those distinctions between them. Like the first one's very much almost like a horror slash action movie, and this one's more just like a kind of like an action movie, but like kind of with a more of a detective twist to it. Like he's unfolding the mystery as he's going, kind of thing. Alien or Aliens? Oh, it's Aliens for sure.
Ooh, Alien for me.
Yeah, well, that's one where it's a razor
Terminator
edge.
for me over T2.
Yeah,
My boy.
so,
I mean, it's pretty much the same story, but with more special effects, and they added a few things to change up the story. But the first one, it feels more science fiction to me than action movie, if that makes sense.
Well, I think like why this one's good is because I feel like a good sequel, especially for something this genre, should take what happened in the first one. Should always ramp it up. I believe it should always ramp it up. Like this and Aliens, I think, are a good example of taking it to just a different level. Granted, like Blake said, the first one's probably more of a horror, but this one kind of swaps the horror for like the mystery element, and then you get that really big payoff at the end.
Yep.
Alien, straight up horror movie, and then we're going to turn it into a straight up action movie with another decent payoff at the end. You can argue that for RoboCop 2 to a certain extent. I love RoboCop 2. I slightly prefer number 1 though.
Yeah.
But a good sequel should take what happened in the first one and dial it up, and then add something to it as well.
Yeah.
And I feel this does that really well. Like I'm actually fascinated. I did not know this movie was hated
by critics.
Yeah, that's fucking.
But not by us, not by the viewer. I think the viewers. I've never met anyone that said, "Oh, I hated this movie." Let's put it that way. I've met people that are kind of, neutral on it, but I've never met anyone that said it's terrible.
Yeah, same.
Whatever.
A lot of people I talk to, they go, "Oh yeah, it's good, but first one's better." A lot of people do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is something I want to look into a bit later. I'm very curious to know why this movie's hated.
Yeah, that was my stance for years. It was just like I like this movie a lot, but I love the first one so much more. But I can't understand why it was so hated. Because I mean, the first one I think was really well received by critics and audiences, but I don't know why this one. I mean, I think a lot of it was the no Arnold factor. I think people were
that I can see playing into why it didn't make as much money. Yeah, I can definitely see that. But for critics to turn around and go, "Nah, fuck this."
Well, Arnold was so huge at that time. Like just putting him in sort of like that was sort of the beginning of Arnold's like skyrocket, because the director mentions a few times in this, Arnold kind of got the choice. You do this one or do T2 kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So he kind of, Oh, you muted, Lethal.
Oh, sorry. I said, well, that would have been an easy choice for him.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, looking back,
I don't know.
I'd love to have seen Arnold in a Predator.
Then there's the James Cameron element as well. So
yeah. And the original idea was to have them both. It would have Arnold and Danny Glover both in the movie.
I don't know. I think him coming back in a 3 would have been cool, but I feel like this movie is strengthened by him not being in it. So I
completely agree.
Yeah, so it doesn't feel shoehorned. And it could have been explained, well, guess who we're going to send in? The guy with experience. But at the same time, I want to see what these aliens do in different settings. And that's what would have kind of felt shoehorned in. Let's see him interacting. Let's see the aliens, I should say, not the same Predator, interacting with other people. And that's what makes this movie strong, in my opinion.
Well, again, just spitballing here, the third one, you could have had Danny Glover being like, right, I got to track down Arnold because he's the only guy that's ever fucking survived one of these things. We got to really figure out what's going on here. But do you know what I really, really like about this? And this pisses people off. Arnold Schwarzenegger beat the Predator, but he did not kill it. Danny Glover killed this Predator. Arnold Schwarzenegger forced his Predator to self-destruct.
Oh, well, here's the question. Let's say that he had defeated him. Would the same thing that we still haven't talked about yet at the end of this movie happened to Arnold? Would they have done that? Because it was I don't know, the honor thing or some shit.
Yeah. I don't know. Do you think they were there in the jungle? Because
I didn't get that sense, no. Yeah, me too.
Because you see that how he's in the pod that shoots down. I always got the sense that in that one he was sort of alone in the jungle, and in this one that was sort of like their base of operations almost under
Yeah,
the city
and
there.
observing.
Yeah, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But no, that is a pretty good question. Because just to spoil AVP, I don't think Tim cares about too much about AVP spoilers, right?
No, go. I don't care
Well, I
about
mean,
spoilers. Period.
well, think of how AVP ends when the Predator ship lands and
Mm-hmm.
the chick, I can't remember her name, Black Sigourney Weaver, gets a fucking Predator spear because that's
Oh,
like
I've seen that scene flipping channels before. So yeah, I've
Mhm.
seen that. Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
cool.
So it's like, she's kind of being like they acknowledge her feats that she did
Yes.
alongside the Yautja against the Xenomorphs.
Yep.
Where I guess, yeah, I mean, depends how they look at it, because you could argue that, well, Arnie fucked it up to the extent where it had to blow itself up, that, blowing itself up is the more honorable thing to do.
Yeah.
Whereas Danny Glover outright defeated it and killed it right in front of their eyes,
Mhm.
because
Yep.
they would have seen it happen. They're pretty much the big reveal is they're standing right fucking next to him the whole time when he kills it.
Yeah.
So they kind of would have seen that as like, you defeated
Yes.
one of ours, warrior culture, blah, 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 blah. Hence, you are fucking worthy.
Yeah, it's kind of like Klingons in Star Trek. Like, you defeat one of them and they're not going to like attack you. They're going to like honor you,
Mm-hmm.
for defeating one of their warriors.
Yeah. I have no idea about Star Trek, so whatever you just said
Whatever,
makes complete sense
yes.
to me. Yeah. You are correct in whatever you say.
May
Yeah.
the force be with you.
Yeah.
Wrong fingers.
Okay, this isn't off the tracks, Tim. That's what. Yeah, I'll be putting. I haven't done it quite just yet because I forgot to do it before, I think. But I'll be putting the links of Tim and Lethal in the description as well after the video is up, so you guys can go check out their channels. They do a lot of great stuff. Lethal just does. He does a lot of stuff that YouTube doesn't like, maybe. And Tim does stuff that YouTube kind of likes. So
I don't know. My streams have been limited for weeks now. You
yeah,
can't say anything. I think I'm on the naughty list. So
yeah, possibly. But he does have a secondary channel as well, which I'll put into. And Lethal has a gaming channel as well, which is a lot of fun. Unless you don't like Mozza, because there's a lot of Mozza there, and he's a special individual.
I love Muzza because he's a member of my channel.
Yeah, he's a good supporter of the community, of everyone around here. Mozza, he just drinks too much banana milk. I think that's his problem. Just rots his brain.
Spends too much time in bed with his Sakura pillow, looking at
He's got all these posters of Nick Merckx on his wall, which is a bit weird for he's 20 years old now, I think, so that's a little weird.
He looks like it, Like I said, he looks like you were on that one stream that day a few months ago. I said he looks like he could be like the brother of what's his name?
Callum.
Yeah, Callum.
He looks like a young Callum. He also looks like a young Elon Musk as well.
Yes, good point. Yep.
Which is a bit of a worry.
Gosh. And you know who I saw like last weekend or the weekend before last on the girls' stream? I saw Cowman on camera.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cowman goes on camera.
Twitch. On camera?
I've only seen him off camera, so I've heard him.
You should be disappointed you didn't see him dance. He does some great dancing on stream as well, Cowman.
Oh, I can get that champion. I can get that picture.
I've also dubbed Cowman the People's Champion over The Rock. Cowman is the new People's Champion. Has been since The Rock turned into a dickhead. So,
he's been a dickhead for a long time.
Yeah, so that means Cowman has been the People's Champion for a long time. Yes.
So what happens? Let's talk about what happens at the end if you're ready for that, because it's the moment everyone's been waiting for. I don't know. You watch this movie, right? And you get there and it's like, man, this has been a good movie. And then this happens and you're just blown away. And the movie becomes even cooler at that point.
Will you lead us off? Oh, Lethal, whoever.
Oh, you go first. You go first.
Go, Blake.
Well, to me, I mean, the end sequence sort of begins at the basically the abattoir for me. Like the whole chase from there, and it's sort of like Danny Glover's fighting the Predator over the city, like throughout the city, kind of thing. And then you get the all the moments where he's like jumping through the different people's um, apartments and everything, and then you see the final scene where he's got Danny Glover in there sort of hanging off, and then you get the arm chop off and the fall down, and then you basically just get this this sort of frantic Danny Glover just tracking down the Predator into the ship, which I think is complete, like, because that's one of the like Stan Winston, I think he was involved with this, but the Stan Winston and also the production designer, the look of this ship is really cool. The inside, it's got like the Mayan, like the old Aztec sort of Mayan
architecture.
Yeah, architecture and motif, like just all the design work and everything. And it's kind of like the director talks about it. It's kind of like that. It's similar to Alien, where it's the old like Chariots of the Gods type ancient spaceman type thing. A lot of the design work, and it's really well done. And it's one of those things where you don't see it for long in the movie, but you know they put the effort and the detail into those things, and it makes the movie. It's like one of the things I haven't talked about is the design work in this Predator. Like they do a full update to it. Like it has the skin markings look a lot better. All the puppetry and everything works a lot easier and well. They basically, I think, I like the look of the design more in the first one, but I like the detail more of the second one, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. There's I think you probably get a best shot of it in the abattoir where you get the right close up of its face, and you can see like all the nice little details. But yeah, in the first one, he kind of has this more like sleek, slimmer type build to him, whereas in this one he seems a bit more bulky. But that could go back to what you were saying before, how like this one is more of a, would you say, a gladiator type build, where he's able to tank stuff.
And like how he was equipped sort of reminded me like he was sort of like a gladiator type hunter kind of thing. But definitely the differences from the first to the second are really cool. And what hello Steve as well, and hello saw Melissa Lord here as well before, and some other people. Jock Nerdy was coming in.
Nerdy. Everyone, make sure you give the thumbs up button to my boy Liquid Blake.
Oh yeah, thumbs up if you haven't subscribed yet. Please subscribe, and I'll be leaving the links for everyone else here to subscribe to as well. But yeah, what Steve mentions here is that guy is actually Dick Donner's cousin, I think, or brother. But I'm pretty sure it's his cousin. He plays one of the cops in this one, and he's like the captain of Riggs and Murtaugh in Lethal Weapon. But he's in a lot of these cool movies, just like sort of small roles. But yeah, and with the ending, getting to that, how Danny kills him, and the rest of the Predators emerge. To me, I was always just like, this is the perfect launching point for a third movie that never happened.
Yeah. And they could have taken it in any direction, really.
Yeah.
And you could have brought back Dutch, you could have paid Arnie what he wanted and all that shit. But when you said earlier, Blake, if it had been well received, I think, depending on how you define that, if it had been profitable, we would have seen a third one,
Yeah. Well, it made money. I just don't think it made as much money as they wanted.
Exactly.
Sort of thing, yeah. Which is unfortunate.
Reviews on top of it.
Yeah. And back then they didn't factor a lot of video into it like we even do to this day. So,
and I think that's why it took so long for them to get more of the franchise going, because they found these movies were just like perennial sellers on the video store shelves.
Yeah.
See, this is something that has always fascinated me with movies like this. Is like how things become a cult classic. Like the remake of Scarface, the Al Pacino one, the remake. That was like a well documented failure.
Yeah.
At the cinema, but meet someone that doesn't own a copy of that movie. Try to meet someone that does not own a copy of that movie.
Yeah.
And that's
Good
the
point.
thing. Like, I don't know if you could get cult movies like that as much anymore, because a lot of those were video rental or video store sellers, and that's where they got their cult status, and that's where they got their essentially their money back.
Yeah,
And
can't sell a ticket in the cinema, but I can't get enough videos in the store for it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know, with like Netflix and everything now, if you're going to get those cult movies that people are going to remember in 10, 15 years from now.
Well, I think what happens now is because of the internet, like you'll find like a little subgroup that likes whatever movie that's not popular. But whereas back then it was like, you know, like I was saying before, like the DVD keeps getting, it's always out rented.
Yeah.
But now it's just so much easier to like go Facebook groups, movie that I like that fucking is destroyed, and you'll find a whole group of people that like it. But back then it was a lot more underground and naturally blew up.
Like tape trading, or like swapping videos with your mates. Like, I'd just tape them off the TV and just, you know, you just swap videos. Or I'd have movies from like when I was probably 8 years old or 9 years old, that you know, R18 movies and stuff that I'd just tape off the TV, and I was like, I could just see them this way.
Even before the World Wide Web, you know, there were bulletin boards, even in the 80s, and you could find local stuff that way too. And then there were literal bulletin boards, like at colleges and stuff like that, where you could say, looking for this. You could put ads in science fiction magazines. You know, I've seen all kinds of weird shit out there. Classifieds, you know, but it was a lot harder. Now it's, to Lethal's point, instant gratification. Like, I can go to some Facebook group and find it right now. Like, if you guys give me a topic, I guarantee I could log in and within 10 minutes I'd be able to find it. So
yeah, exactly. I mean,
sure,
kind of the same, but a little bit different. I think, well, at least in my experience, that really got highlighted with video games. Like, there'd be a lot of games that just are not liked, but I'll be like, I like it, so I'll go look for like other people online that like it, and you go, oh shit, there's all these people over here, even though it's not very popular.
Yep. I wish I'd gotten into Laserdisc.
I do too, but that was just a bit
underrated
before my time of like collecting, especially collecting physical media. But yeah, to buy Laserdiscs, I wouldn't have been able to afford that when I was a kid. Like, they were, especially in Australia,
I tried to talk my parents into getting it. You know, like Tower, it was a chain. I think it was a nationwide chain, but we had a lot in California, and they had a whole Laserdisc section to rent and stuff. And it's like, man, I wish I had that, you know, but my parents were too cheap. They had to have money for cigarettes and all that stuff. But some of the best movies, like the best versions of movies to this day, were on Laserdisc. Like Star Wars Unaltered Trilogy, like the best version you can get is on Laserdisc, not on VHS, not even on the DVDs that they put out in 2006, because those look like kind of trash. So I want Laserdisc. Maybe that'll be my new like hobby, to start collecting old Laserdisc stuff. That'd be cool. Yeah, exactly.
You find some pretty cheap, depending, like, you know, which ones you're after and stuff. But I don't know how well they last. That was the other problem with them, I think. Like the glue.
Yes, and same thing with CDs, Blake. Like, people think, oh yeah, I have my physical media. I've seen pictures of DVDs that have begun to deteriorate. So it happens.
Yeah, I usually try and digitize them as best I can.
Smart
like
man.
Running out of space, but I usually just try and get an ISO file of the whole disc. It just makes it a little bit easier. But getting back to Predator as well, you guys, the thoughts on the finale?
Oh,
it was amazing.
Top tier. Like from the second he walks in to the spaceship, is wild because you never see that in the first one. And then, he's walking through it. It's got that, retro mist in the ground that's on every spaceship back then for whatever reason.
Yeah.
they don't have carpet. They have mist over there.
Yeah, well, they don't have vacuum cleaners, so they don't want to see the floor because it's dirty. So we'll just put smoke over it. Can't see it. It's out of the mind.
And then, he gets to the trophy room, and obviously there's the big Easter egg, the Xenomorph skull. But even just, putting that aside, regardless of how cool that is, that's the moment where you're like, we already know that they're hunters, but that's like they're hunters. They're here to hunt. This is their thing. This is their culture. This is what they do. All right. So he's like kind of spun out by what he's seeing. And plus he's all fucked up from the fight they've been having.
Yeah.
And then the Predator jumps out, one last attempt to try and kill this fuck. Because remember, it's already tried to blow itself up by this stage.
Yeah.
And it's missing an arm. So they're having one last throwdown. Danny Glover wins. Woo! He gets his Mel Gibson on, cuts him up, and then we have the big reveal. Like you think it's done, okay? Like just pretend it's the first time you've seen the movie. He's killed it, done. Sigh of relief, and then the 3 red dots appear, and you're like, "What the fuck? There's another one?" And then there's not one. There's like 10 of the fuckers.
Yeah,
just appear, and the music kicks in. Yeah, like Soul Assassin's saying, and they're like, he's dead. He's fucking dead. And then it's just like they come in, they pick up their boy, walk off with his corpse. And then he gives him the trophy, the trophy that he got from the
flintlock pistol. Yeah.
And what's the date on it? It's like
17 something. Yeah, 1717, I think, or 18.
And he walks out with it. They tell him to take it. Like they don't even want to fight him. They don't even want to fight him. They're like, you've just proven yourself as a warrior in front of us.
Yeah, it's so refreshing.
Not too different to old school Mandalorians to an extent.
Yeah.
Kind of on the same book, different pages, but kind of on the same book.
And it's so refreshing because it's not like, alien invasion. How many times have we seen that? I mean, what the fuck do they want with this planet? I mean, come on. Yeah. Look what's going on in LA in this movie and stuff. But, it's like they're hunters, like Lethal said. So it's so cool, refreshing take on an alien race, not some stupid ass invasion. That's what I like. Yeah,
they're not take us to your leader or anything. And then, as much as I love the xenomorphs are just kill, repopulate. That's all we fucking do.
Exactly. Because they're more like animals. You know what I mean? More like instinctive than they are intelligent. But what's amazing is, it's a different take on aliens, but you still get that alien fix. Like going onto an alien ship. That's always cool. Like, this guy has balls bigger than grapefruits. He's walking onto an alien ship. What if the door closes and like a bunch of spikes come out of the walls and shit? Yeah, that's...
they just eject him. Like, just jettison him.
Yeah.
Very cool. George Jetson him, just throwing him out the window or whatever. But and then just that moment where, like, they let him live, again, stuff we kind of know, but it hits the nail on the head. Like, you've proven yourself.
Yeah.
You're fucking cool. And then he walks out, then, like there's cops and the CIA all rock up and shit. And then, like, he's looking at the gun. It's like, it's got the date on it, the 1700. He looks up in the sky and he's just, what do you say, better luck next time or some shit? Like, it's all just clicked in his head that this is how it works with them.
Yeah, we'll be back.
Oh, the music. Alan Silvestri,
yes.
Both movies, so he came back for it. They couldn't get Peter Cullen back for the voice, but they got the music back. So you got that consistency.
I love the first movie. The score is one of my all-time favorites. And in this one, I think he really he adds a lot of cool elements to it. Like, because it is the city and everything, it has...
it sounds more urban.
Yeah, it has like a very different sound to it. But I really think he does a brilliant job with this one. And what else?
I remember right, the actual sound, the score changes. Like I said, it starts with the jungle, and it's like the old Predator music. Then, as it pans to the city, it goes into that urban sound.
Yes,
and not just that. I forgot to mention at the start when you said about the intro, but you can see that like when they're first coming over all those trees with the camera establishing the shot. They really green it up like in the post-production to make it look like really like a jungle, and then it just sort of slowly gets back to that normal urban color, and then it comes up and you see that city shot, and that's what I really love the it's got like a swerve at the start where you think you're going to be back in the jungle again, but it's the urban jungle kind of thing.
So this is something that always kind of shitted me about the first Predator movie, as much as I like it. Remember the opening scene where it shows the spaceship?
Yeah.
If it was up to me, I wouldn't have that.
No, that was
you'd go the whole movie thinking it's just gorillas out there. Yeah. And then you go, holy fuck, what the fuck is
or
that
you don't have a clue what it is. Like, it could be like it's a lion or some shit.
But you would have no reason to believe it's an alien.
Yeah.
Yeah, because imagine writing a book. It would have been like, if you're in the story from Arnold's perspective and not just like an omniscient perspective.
Yeah, like a third party observer.
I like that. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, and that was a late addition. Like that was I think a studio request or something to put that shot in to show the Predator coming down in that drop pod. But yeah, I agree. Just like that's one of the things. Like I always wondered, like, would it have done the movie a disservice if you have no sign of the Predator in the trailers or anything before the movie comes out? Like the first time that you ever see the Predator is when you go and see the movie, kind of thing. Just sort of paint it or advertise it as a straight up Arnold.
Yeah, and the Predator. Who's the Predator? Arnie. And then
yeah,
nah.
Yeah, and in 1987, you could have gotten away with that, right? Because
that's what I reckon. Like back then, you kind of maybe could have gotten away with it, but nowadays,
leaks.
I mean, I guess you could have because they did that. They did Spider-Man: No Way Home, and Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield weren't in the trailers. That's an added part. It's not the main sort of antagonist or villain of the movie, I guess. Yeah. But back then, I think
reveal.
Yeah, it's a big reveal. But I think back then, having something like no Predator or even like no mention of like that there's an alien in this movie, just play it straight up as a jungle Arnold Schwarzenegger action movie. Yeah,
it's another Commando type-esque movie. And you see the movie, and you see the words "The Predator" with Arnold Schwarzenegger on the cover. You go, "Oh, he is the Predator."
Yeah,
he's out in the jungle taking them all out. Because especially back then, you go, "All right, he's the Terminator." Okay, cool. Now he's the Predator. Last week he was the Commando. It's just another silly fucking name. But then it's like, nope. This get fucked alien chasing him down.
Yep. Yeah.
Badass.
Well, we weren't going to go too much longer. We'll start to wrap it up now. But did you any final things you guys wanted to say about this movie? Maybe like when Letha, do you remember the first time you saw this movie?
Primary school.
Yeah.
On DVD.
Yeah.
Dad had it on DVD, and I was like, no. I remember him owning the first one, and I watched the first one, and then he's like, oh fuck, I don't own Predator 2, so go get Predator 2. And he's like, okay, here's Predator 2, and this is kind of back when DVDs were really starting to blow up as well.
Yeah.
So I remember watching it and just being like, yeah, this is really good. Yeah, I was young. I was like grade 6, grade 7. I'd already seen all the aliens by then as well. The original Alien scared the fucking shit out of me. I was way too young for that movie. And then after you watch all the Alien movies, you're like, well, you got to watch the Predator ones now.
Exactly. And I'll just cut you off. Sorry. We've got a message. Soul Assassin. Arnold is the Predator of maids. That's not inaccurate at all.
I saw it at a friend's house. I think the VHS came out in 91, so
yeah,
that's when we saw it. And I didn't see it after that until the DVD came out. So it was like a good grief, like a 12 to 15 year gap. But we liked it, as kids. We liked it when we saw it. And if we caught it on TV, like on HBO or Showtime, we'd watch it. But
it's always one. If I see it on TV, I'll end up watching the rest of it, wherever it's starting from.
Yeah, when you're a kid and stuff, you are a lot less critical of things.
Yeah.
Unless they're just obviously and completely bad. But even like RoboCop 2 and stuff like that, we didn't completely hate a lot of the sequels. But this one, there was good reason because I think it holds up to this day. Did I ever tell you the story about my son in the first Predator movie?
I have once to me, yes.
Yeah, so gosh, he must have been like not even 4 years old. I woke up on a Saturday and I go into the living room and he's in the biggest easy chair and he's like kicked back and his feet are up and he's about 25 minutes into the first Predator movie. He had just selected it off the shelf and started watching it. And I'm like, all right, by this point he's already seen what's his name's arm get blown off and he's heard the sexual Tyrannosaurus line. So I'm like, go ahead and finish the movie. And now it's like one of his favorite movies to this day and he's 20 years old now. So
That the reason I remember you telling me that is because that is so similar to how I first watched the first Predator movie. It was literally the third movie I'd ever seen, behind Bambi, The Little Mermaid, and then yeah, that was my introduction to film.
So I went from wish I could be part of your world to gee, she's got a big pussy. Gee, she's got a big pussy.
Yeah.
Well, you were
young.
you're probably more scarred by Bambi's mother's death than you were by Predator. So
Absolutely. Back then I was more traumatized by Bambi's mother's death than I was by anything I saw in Predator.
Most
like
kids
a
were skull blown out the back of his head, but Bambi's mom.
Yeah. But I think it was either on video or TV, and I was a kid, real young. I would have been 5, maybe 6, and yeah, I watched that beginning to end on TV, and then it was like on like a month or 3 weeks later or something, a month, they replayed it again, and I taped it, and I would watch it like every few weeks growing up, from probably the age 6 to now. I've watched it like every few weeks, every few months, I'd say.
Fast forwarding through the ad breaks back then.
Oh,
For the longest time growing up, I thought Dylan was Lando. And for the longest time, I thought Apollo Creed was Lando.
Yeah. Well, we had Gemmo in the chat before. Yeah, he forgot Apollo. Carl Weathers was even in Predator. And I'm like, that's, to me, he wasn't, it's not a long running, but Dylan is up there with me for Apollo as Carl Weathers' best characters.
Oh,
you know what I was going to tell you?
I'd have to say Apollo's number one.
Oh yeah, Dylan? Apollo's number one, but like he's Dylan, Action Jackson, and then maybe like Chubbs Peterson.
Chubbs,
yeah,
it's pretty good. I like to think Chubbs and Dylan were like the same people if he survived.
Yes, he actually survived, but he came back and became a golfer with one arm, and then taught Happy Gilmore how to play. I love that theory.
It's all in the hips. It's all in the hips.
You know, I was going to tell you, there's kind of a tie-in there when you look at what's his name, Action Jackson. We just said his name 3 times.
Carl Weathers.
Carl Weathers. There's a tie-in there because the first Predator movie was kind of created as a challenge. Like, okay, Rocky IV is done. What do we do next?
Yeah.
Rocky has to fight an alien. So, wait, how can we come up with the movie? You know, I don't know if they considered Stallone for the role originally and he turned it down, but that's kind of the genesis of the first Predator movie.
Did you ever see the Van Damme Predator costume?
I have last year for the first time.
Yep. Oh, could you imagine an alternate timeline where they went with that? There would be no Predator 2.
They show a bit of it in the behind the scenes of the first one, and like they do a version of it in Predators. It's like it's that alien that's on the planet with them that like runs past them and they shoot. Like that's the design of the original Predator. But yeah, you can see like the tests they do of the red suit with Van Damme in it running through the jungle and everything, and it's got this thing on its head that like it's this like giant eyeball that's like just moves with its
head. Looks like a shitty Power Rangers villain.
Yeah, it looks exactly like before they Rita throws the staff down or whatever and it grows. That's what it looked like. One of those things running around.
Fuck, they dodged a bullet with that one. I reckon I like to think that's one of those times where everyone collectively looked at that and went, nah.
Yeah, look, I think because they stopped production for a while in the movie back then, in the first one, I think they kind of looked at that and they just went, we can't move forward with this. This will be a problem on screen.
Shit.
Exactly. Like you've got Arnold Schwarzenegger fighting this little
Crab.
thing that, a crab basically. What's that? Zoidberg from Futurama.
Zoidberg.
Fucking fighting Zoidberg.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, they dodged a bullet that one. But all in all, I do have to say Predator 2 is the best Predator movie. Predator 2, Predator 1, Predator's the Predator.
Yeah.
I love the Predator movie so much, but I can't argue with people who like the second one more because it's such a different movie as well that the things that I find in it that I love, just the ones in the first movie just outweigh it just a little bit for me. But Predator 2,
I think everyone would bounce back and forth between the first two being the top two.
Oh yeah,
it's kind of whatever from there.
After that, it's not even.
Which one
close.
do you think's less shit?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Polished turd.
Well, no, I wouldn't even say the Predator was even polished. There was quite a few. Like, I think the giant steroid Predator.
I've heard it's bad. Awful. I've heard it's bad.
Oh yeah, that was like
whole
a.
movie tries to tell
what year was that?
One draft special.
18, 19.
Yeah, it's before I knew you guys
18.
For sure.
I reckon it was 18. I reckon it was 2018. That whole movie tries to tell you that autism is the next genetic step for humanity.
Which is that's how they communicate with
autistic
the Predator
in itself.
Through the helmet.
The only good thing about that movie is the pitch meeting video on that. The pitch meeting video of it is probably the best pitch meeting video out there. Like, we can't make fun of autism, but we can make fun of Tourette's in this movie.
Yeah. Well, I've heard. We won't even go into that. We won't. Yeah. Blake's smiling with thanks there. So.
No, I've got to look this up now because I haven't seen that video.
Oh, you haven't? I can do it right now.
Oh, you know what? There is a music video they made, but it wasn't one to be released on Predator 2. So if you ever get a chance, go to YouTube and try to find that. With dance numbers and everything. Yeah.
Oh, God. Was there?
Yes.
I think I have seen that, actually.
It's not on my DVD. I wish it were, but...
Of the Predator dancing.
There you go. It's not that long.
But for 1 and 2, for me, it's like, I don't know. I like them both equally for different reasons, so it's really hard to say which one I like more. So they're a tie for me. I'd love to watch either movie any day. Like them for different reasons.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I'm not trying to say that I think it's like way above Predator 1. I think Predator 1's really good, but this just edges it out.
Yep.
Is that sharing audio?
So, you have a new Predator movie for me? Yes, sir, I do. Fantastic. This is going to be much better than trying to make something original. Agreed. So in this one, we're going to have a Predator crash onto Earth, right? Uh-oh. But the twist is that later we're going to learn that he's actually here to help the humans. Oh, interesting. So he's not actually going to kill any humans. Oh, no, he's going to kill a bunch of humans. Oh, he is? Yeah, super violently, too. He's going to do that thing where he strings one up from a tree and skins him. Oh, my God. Yeah, and he's going to rip a guy's arm off, use that to give a thumbs up. And we're going to say he's here to help humans. Yeah. Tough love, I guess. So why does he want to save us? Because there are super big predators on the way and they want to take over the planet because global warming is going to kill humans and they want to move in. What? Yeah, pretty cool, right? I didn't understand what you're talking about. That doesn't make any sense. He wants to help humans because global warming and giant predators. Okay. Also, the super predators want some human DNA. Oh, they want the DNA now too? Yeah, I'm all over the place with this one. Yeah, you really are. So how does the good predator plan on helping the humans? Well, we're only going to see it in the last scene, but he brought them a suit so they can fight against the super predators. One suit to fight off a whole invasion? Yeah, it's like an Iron Man suit, but it has dreadlocks. Oh, people love Marvel. That's actually a good move for us. Oh yeah, and we're also going to throw some Marvel-style humor into the movie. How are we going to do that? Well, you know how sometimes a movie will have a character that's like comic relief to break the tension? Yeah. Well, in this movie, every character is going to be comic relief. Wow, people are going to be so relieved. Yeah, there's going to be no tension, just relief. Amazing. So tell me about the characters. Well, the main guy is named Quinn McKenna, and he witnessed the Predator land on Earth. Friendly predator that kills people or super predator that kills people? Friendly predator who kills people. Gotcha. So the government puts him on a bus to a mental institution where he meets a bunch of wacky characters. Sounds wacky. But before the government caught him, he had sent some alien items home and his son starts to play with them. Oh, what's his son's deal? His son is super smart and he has autism. Oh, we have to be careful with how we portray disorders like that. It could be a sensitive subject. Well, we're going to say that autism is like the next step in human evolution. Okay, well, I guess that portraying it as a superpower power is a safe way to go about it. You want to be respectful with these things, you know? We're also going to have a guy with Tourette's, and we're going to make fun of his disorder the whole movie. Well, that's one of the funny disorders, so that's okay. Exactly. We're good people. We're good people. So yeah, basically we have this movie set up where a super big alien wants to rip out this kid's spine so he can use his autism to level up. Oh, it's happening. What is going on? Oh, it's a good one too. Whoa. What was that? Oh, it's just that when all the people who pioneered cinema roll over in their graves at the same time, it can cause some little earthquakes. Well, that's kind of neat. It is, isn't it? Wow. So what's the dynamic like between the dad and his kid? Oh, super cute. At a certain point, the kid's like, Dad, I'm sorry I didn't turn out the way you wanted. And he's like, that's okay. I didn't turn out well either. That's actually incredibly mean. Yeah, real cute. We also have the mom in the movie. Oh, what does she do? She has this badass scene where she tells the government, you messed with the wrong family, and then we never see her again. Mysterious. There's also a scientist, and her name is Casey. What's her backstory? She's a scientist. I love it. Yeah, she's also super skilled with weapons and action scenes. She does a bunch of crazy stuff. Oh, so she's not just a scientist. Well, that's all we're gonna learn about her. Fair enough. Oh, we're also gonna have some predator dogs in the movie. Wow, that sounds scary. Yeah, but one of them's gonna turn good. How does that happen? It gets shot in the head, and that makes it friendly. I'm a powerful studio executive, and I'm gonna approve that idea. Fantastic. And what happens in the third act? Oh, you're gonna like this. In the third act, we're gonna have action. Oh yeah? Tell me more about that. There's gonna be action. There's gonna be a bunch of it. But like, what kind of stuff is gonna happen? Oh, well, I figure we could edit it together so fast that nobody's gonna have any idea what the hell's going on. Very smart. Yeah, it's just gonna be shot after shot of complete nonsense. People are gonna be like, wait, did Casey just teleport? And wait, did the main human villain just shoot himself in the head? I love it. You can't be bored if you're completely disoriented, right? That's the idea. Plus, it gives the movie rewatch value. How so? Well, if people want to try and figure out what the hell just happened, they're gonna have to rewatch the movie, probably at half speed. Oh, that's actually genius. Anyway, so at the end of the movie, the main dude is gonna see the Iron Man suit and be like, that's my new suit. Oh, is he in charge of something now? Unclear. And also his 10-year-old son has a job in the government now. Oh, child labor is tight. My personal driver is 7. That's illegal and dangerous for many reasons. Wow. So what do you think of the movie? Hey man, as long as we beat the opening weekend of Predators from 2010, I'm happy. You think we can do that? Oh yeah, super easy. Barely an inconvenience.
That's pretty wild, that. That's true, though. Right at the end, when it's all going crazy, everyone's like, did that dude just shoot himself by accident?
Yeah,
like,
that was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. Because he's like a main character in the movie, and he's just like, 80% of the people who have watched it, I reckon, don't even realize what happened. Because it's just like, oh, what happened to him? Where'd that character go?
It's just so quick.
Yeah.
So is that all true? It's really, there's a good predator trying to stop global warming?
Yeah, kind of.
Oh my gosh.
I had no idea really what the motive was for that predator at the start.
It's supposed to be
kind of thing.
If I got this right, it's because you know how we're saying like in Predator 1 and Predator 2, how like it shows that they like heat. So it's supposed to be that global warming means the planet's getting hotter, so that means predators are coming to Earth more often.
Yeah.
And the good predator wants to stop that because reasons.
Wow.
What if they're just like sort of protecting their hunting grounds kind of thing?
Yeah, and then he brings
that's too much sense for them, I think.
And then for some reason there's an Iron Man suit.
I
heard that originally the idea was that the weapon was supposed to be Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
And then I heard there was another idea where it was supposed to be a xenomorph egg. I'm like, okay, both of them are kind of cool ideas. So why did you turn it into Iron Man?
Right.
I've even heard it was meant to be like a Sigourney Weaver clone, like a Ripley clone, which I don't understand how that could have worked. But I heard there was rumors that Ripley was going to have like a cameo in the end and all sorts of weird shit.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Predator 2 is good. The Predator sucks.
Yeah. Final verdict, Predator 2 still holds up. Worthy entry into the franchise. The last worthy entry into the franchise.
Could you rate it out
double
of 10?
feature, Predator 1 and 2. This weekend, you won't be sorry.
Yeah. Could you rate it out of 10?
I don't really do movies out of 10, but I would, if I was going to rate these movies, I'd say Predator 1, 9.8 out of 10. Predator 2, probably 9.
Mm-hmm. I'd give this one a 9, and I'd give the first one an 8.5.
Yeah. Solid.
Wow.
Final thoughts, Tim?
I don't know how to rate them. Because my ratings usually sound low. Because if you think about it, like, I rate Empire Strikes Back 9 out of 10, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So if I say like Predator 2, I give it a 7 out of 10. I don't want that to sound really low, but like it's Empire Strikes Back. I'm not going to put it on that level.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd say I give both of them a 7 out of 10, the first two movies. And for me, that's a high score because I would give something like The Phantom Menace like 6.5, and I don't think that's a low score. I just think if 10/10 is a perfect movie, like you have to start deducting stuff and peeling the onion away a little bit. So 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
All right,
That's
so
why-
if Empire's a 9, Phantom Menace is a 6, just for clarification, then where would you put something like
just off the top of your head, pick a movie.
where would you put Halloween, the original Halloween?
Never saw it. I don't like horror.
I thought you were going somewhere completely different. Then I thought you were going to say something like TLJ or The Force Awakens. It'd be
No,
like
I don't
one
like horror.
for what? Force Awakens and or Halloween, because they're both pretty horrific.
Yeah, exactly.
Which one scared you
I
more?
don't even give Disney Star Wars a rating because it doesn't exist to me.
Yeah,
Less
pretty
than
much.
a 0.
I give
That's
pitch
why I
rating a
don't really
solid
like
9, though.
to rate movies, because when I say like I give Predator a 9.8 out of 10, I'm only rating it against itself. Like I don't rate like so Predator or like Jaws is a 10. So any movie that's a 10 has to be as good as Jaws to me, sort of thing. No, I just say like, well, Predator's almost as good as Jaws to me, so I'll give it like a 9.8. But I don't really knock down other movies because I've got like a perfect 10 movie kind of thing. I just kind of give them all their own individual score, how I feel about them. But yeah, I want to thank you guys for joining me.
Thank you for having me on. I love talking about Predator 2. It's very rare you get someone to go, hey, let's talk about Predator 2.
Yeah, I know.
Wait, one more idea. Conflict and heat. Imagine like in the 1700s, early 1800s, somewhere in the South Sea and by the equator, it's nice and warm, and on a wooden ship there's a predator skulking about. Maybe it's like a huge ship like the Victory. That would be awesome, that story, because those ships are bigger than you think. So skulking around, killing guys one by one, and that's where they got the flintlock from. There it is.
Yeah,
there it is.
I get where you're going, but to me that sounds more Alien than Predator because it's like a confined space.
Yeah, that's true.
You kind of
Yeah.
trapped
maybe
with
if
it.
they were in the ocean, like maybe if it was like, or
Maybe it's a whole fleet and he's going from
Yeah.
ship to ship.
Mm.
I don't know.
because if you confine it too much, it'd like bring the budget down, but it might sort of bring the scope down too.
I just like ships too. So.
Yeah, I know, and I'm going to get you back on for Master and Commander when I get around to that.
Yes.
That's dope.
And maybe
that.
even, I don't know if you'll be keen for this one too, Lethal, but I'm probably going to get around to it eventually. But the Mel Gibson's The Bounty.
Oh,
Oh
yes.
yeah.
Dude, that movie's freaking. Oh,
Yeah, that goes hard. I haven't seen it in a
Masterpiece.
while.
Yeah, it probably won't
I
be
have it
for a
on
while.
DVD.
So I've got to get it and rewatch it again and get my head around it. But
It's the best Mutiny on the Bounty movie by far because I've seen them all, and that's the only. It's not even the best; it's the only good one. Let's put it that way. So,
and definitely Master and Commander, and like I said, I want to get Trey on for Die Hard and Lethal Weapon. So I've got some other movies and coming up, and I'll get you guys back as guests for sure down the road.
Sweet,
so once
man.
again, thanks
We
for
should
being
do
here.
Mad Max.
Birthday. Oh yeah, Mad Max will be, because I've got a little plan that every 10th movie I'm going to do an Australian movie. So
like when you did Chopper.
yeah.
Hey, just out of curiosity, Tim, have you seen Chopper?
that's the Australian movie, right?
Yeah, Eric Bana.
I've heard about it, never seen it.
Watch
Do
it.
I need to see it?
Watch it. Yeah, watch it. I went.
Okay.
They played it in the cinema last year for like the 10th year or 20-year anniversary. Sorry.
Yeah,
Nice.
I went to go see it at the cinema, and there was like 10 people in there. I went with one friend, and there was like 10 people in there. And by the end of the movie, everyone was like ranged from tipsy to drunk. It was fucking fantastic, man.
Well, they serve
behind-
alcohol here now in theaters, so.
Oh, really? We just walked in
Yep.
with it in like a plastic hose bag.
Oh, we've done that before too, for sure.
But it was such a good atmosphere. Everyone's like quoting the lines before he says it and shit, like laughing. It's fucking awesome. Yeah, watch Chopper. Watch Chopper.
Yeah, that is a very quotable movie.
Very quotable. Extremely quotable.
I'll have to watch it.
Definitely.
Fury Road was shit.
And when you watch it, Tim, go back and watch me and Lethal. We did a great stream on Chopper. That was one of my favorite ones.
Yeah,
well.
I remember that. I remember jumping into the chat, and I'm like, I don't know what they're talking about. See you later. But
yeah,
I need to see it. What's that guy's name that's in it?
Eric Banner. He was the old Hulk.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, that's another guy. I didn't know he was from your country until like 2 years ago, because all the roles he's in, he kind of hides his accent, you know?
Yeah. He's one of the better American accents out of that sort of wave of Australian actors, I think. He
or
does
even
more
English ones.
American role.
Ewan McGregor's terrible at trying to have an American accent, but
you know who
I
thought
thought
doing an American accent is Margot Robbie.
Yeah.
Every time she talks, I just go, "You sound like a girl down the road."
Yeah.
Girl from Queensland.
Yeah.
But then good ones. I think Cumberbatch is fantastic. I think, gosh, I could name some others. Even Eoin Gruffit isn't too bad at it. But yeah, Ewan McGregor, terrible. It's like, dude, give it up.
Yeah. You're not American, bro. You're not American.
I do hate that, but a lot of the Australians, and they go over there and play Americans, and it's sort of like sometimes it works, and a lot of the times
we can have a whole stream on this conversation sometime, like accent fighters.
No, Nicole Kidman. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
not even a good actor to start off with.
Yeah.
But when they start doing like the New York sort of accent, and they that's just, it doesn't always
from New
work.
York, mate. Have a look at me.
Well,
yeah, I'm from New York.
Well, look at The Patriot. You've got Ledger and you've got Gibson, right? Father and son. What the fuck? They're good at that, though, in that movie especially. So,
yeah, Mel was always one. Well, I think because he's from America originally, but he was always one that did it pretty well when he went back over to America to act.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that will be one I'll get to eventually, The Patriot. So I'm guessing you'll want to come back for that one, Tim.
Oh, I love that movie. I watch it every 4th of July, or that weekend I watch it. So
the ultimate American
extended
movie,
version.
The ultimate American movie where the lead actors are played by foreigners.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like Braveheart too, like the ultimate.
Yeah,
Scottish
Braveheart.
movie.
They're all, not one of them's fucking Scottish.
It's great.
Appropriation, and what do you call that? What kind of face is that? Like blue face?
You know what's wild? My grandmother, who was born in Scotland, so she's like 100% Scottish. She hates that fucking movie because like it's historically wrong. Like that whole blueface shit was like way before that era.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, that's a really weird reason to hate that movie. And she's like, I fucking hate that movie. I will not watch it. All right, Granny, calm down. Don't hit me.
Yeah. But anyway, we'll wrap it up there. Thanks everyone for being here. Everyone in the chat, thanks for being here. If you can, hit the like. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. We've got some great movies coming up in the next little while. These guys will probably be back soon as well. I'll sort out the schedule when I'm doing these movies. But yeah, thank you, Lethal. Thank you, Tim, for being here on your birthday as well.
Thank you very much.
Birthday.
And until next time, I'll see you all later.
Bye.
Peace.
Later.